tonight or to uh, very excited, very happy to host another event for Microsoft this Power Community. And today we are going to deeply talk about Dataverse Summit 2021. My name is Faisal Farid, and without further ado, I'll introduce myself first. And today I'm going to talk about finance and operations integration options for Dataverse. I know I've gone through so many questions into our chat window. So great stuff, guys. So many good questions about the Dataverse. Uh, this session is again how we can integrate different business applications into the Dataverse. Finance and operations is one of the business applications. Similarly, we have Business Central. There are other business applications, but my skill set, my area is finance and operations completely. Now I'm diving into the Dataverse world, as Raj was mentioning to Druvin. By the way, Druvin, great session, guys, right? Great information for everyone. So from finance and operations, what we can do into the Dataverse. So a little bit about myself. My name is Faisal Farid, and I'm working as a Dynamics 365 solution architect at Barhead Solutions in Melbourne, Australia. Professionally, I'm a Microsoft Business Application MVP, recently being awarded by this great award early this year. And I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm also the Microsoft Dynamics Community Spotlight, again being awarded with this great rewards early this year. So this year has been a great year for me. And I started Pakistan User Group last year, and with the support and love from all the people across the world, we have reached so many milestones in a year. So I have been running, leading, promoting this Pakistan User Group, staying away from my homeland in Australia. Uh, about my journey, grown up in Pakistan, only worked for a couple of years in Pakistan. Then I moved to Saudi Arabia, as most other people do, and moved to the Middle East side, Saudi Arabia. Then I did work into the Dubai in UAE. Then it was a big change for me from a very hot climate to the very cold climate. Moved to New Zealand, stayed there, and then I decided to move to Australia, where I have been living since last almost 7 years now. If you want to connect with me, please feel free to connect on me on LinkedIn. You can watch all my sessions on my YouTube channel, and also you can tweet me on my Twitter. What we are going to talk about, what's our agenda for today? The main thing which I'm gonna discuss today is how finance and operations data can reside within the Dataverse. What is the benefit? Why Microsoft is actually pushing the business application data into the Dataverse? What benefit they are going to get? I was listening to the previous session where Ross explained about CDM. I'm not gonna going into the more details about the CDM because you guys on the Dataverse side, you know much better than me. But from finance and operation, we have a database. It's an SQL database. Is SQL database that can be on-premises database, and you can think of this database is actually sitting on a cloud somewhere. So once you say this is sitting on a cloud somewhere, we call it as a Azure SQL database. All the Microsoft hosted environments, like which are the sitting on a cloud somewhere using the Microsoft subscription, these use the Azure SQL database. Once we get this data into the Dataverse, the big world is open for us. We can create Power Apps. We can use the Azure Analytics there. We can create machine learning on top of that one. The only thing is we just need to get data from finance operations right into the Dataverse. That's the main goal here. This is where Microsoft came up with the tagline here called platform convergence, how different platforms are converging to each other. This is what we are going to talk about today. Then I'll give you a demo about UI unification. So UI unification, I'll explain you what does this term mean here, UI unification. And then we will touch base on data and events, and then a quick summary on that one. We always I always love to have more questions in a chat, or if you are allowed to unmute yourself, please feel free to unmute or put your questions into a chat window. After summary, I'm happy to take all the questions there. Just to set the context here, everyone may or may not have seen this digital feedback loop here provided by Microsoft on many docs articles on many different blogs and have been shared on many different presentations. What does it mean here and why we are going to talk about this digital feedback loop? So this digital feedback loop allows you to connect data together and apply intelligence into Power Platform Dataverse to get a deep understanding of business, which includes sales, customer services, customer acquisition, and backend operations. From finance and operations, where the finance and operations sits here is we have operations and we have finance here. So Microsoft Dynamics 365, it has a different applications. If you see from the top, it has marketing, sales, commerce, service, and we have finance operations and finance. And then we have a talent. Then it's a separate topic. What is the talent and how we Microsoft is actually taking this back into finance and operations that now being an HR module of the finance and operations. But the idea is finance and operation is one of the applications of the Microsoft Business Applications here, or you can say Microsoft Dynamics 65 ecosystem. That's what we are going to talk about here. Once we get this data, the whole digital feedback loop will help us to get the data right from the finance and operations, transform your data, make artificial intelligence on top of that one, create some financial insights on top of that data, and use the power of Power Platform and Azure services right onto the finance and operations data out of the box without writing any line of code, without doing any customizations in finance and operations. So this is the complete picture of Microsoft ecosystem here. It has a complete list of products, applications coming from Microsoft side, starting top left here, which is our productivity applications, Power BI, Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive. But into the next column, from the left, we see Dynamics 365 business applications. Again, these are all the business applications coming as part of Dynamics 365 solutions now. We have Azure Data and Analytics. We can connect using external applications. Again, there are thousands of cases where we have seen we can integrate third-party applications using Power Platform, using Dataverse, using Azure services with finance and operations without any code. So this is how the whole applications are actually seamlessly integrating to each other. In the bottom part, which is the application platform and the common data services, this is an old screenshot which I have taken from one of the Microsoft articles or one of the Microsoft people blog there. But this is where now it's called Dataverse. So don't confuse between the common data services or Dataverse. It's the same thing. The new name is a Dataverse. Now, this is where my finance and operations reside here. And that's what, by setting the context here, what is finance and operations? If you do not know finance and operations, so just setting the context here, what is this? What we are going to talk about? Why we are talking about financial operations and where we are heading to? Getting the data from financial operations, putting this into the Dataverse. So that's the platform convergence. So you see here from the left, financial operations. We are pushing financial operations. Please go. And Dataverse people are actually pushing the Dataverse, go and converge to each other so that a user, an end user will have a one seamless UI. So they will never know which application they are working on. All these things which I'm talking here, I'll show you in a demonstration how seamlessly quickly I can embed Power Apps right into the Power Platform, into financial operation, sorry, and I can easily create a model-driven app into customer engagement using the Dataverse, and I can use that model-driven app or Canvas app right into the financial operations, and user will never know I'm actually working into the customer engagement environment. So I'll spend few minutes on this particular slide just to give more respect to Microsoft vision here for what they have done is actually marvelous. So Microsoft has evolved over the last few years. And the way Microsoft has rebranded all licensing and the marketing strategy, and even the way Microsoft has refined the product to bring the common offering to customers, we are offering you Microsoft Dynamics 365. So Microsoft is just saying we are offering you Microsoft Dynamics 365. What is Microsoft Dynamics 365? It's a collection of various business applications which we have talked about. Which includes customer might be using finance and operations, customer engagement, project operations, or field services. So what we are witnessing that a lot of customers are using multiple applications from Dynamics 365 stack to run their business processes. So as a result, what happens as a result, data is being created in all these different applications. Think about your customer is a multinational company and they are using finance operations, field services, project operations, customer engagement, and what happens at the end of the day, your data is residing into multiple applications. Because finance and operations, as I said, finance and operations has its own database. What if we push the data from multiple applications into a one database using the common data model? And then on top of that one, we create some services. We can use Azure Analytics again. We can create some Power Apps, Power BI. We can perform machine learning services of Power Platform and then provide a one UI to your end user. So the whole idea is Microsoft is building new features to bring finance and operations data closer to the Dataverse. So this is called platform convergence. A platform conversion is not only talking about the data. We will see a little bit later in the presentation. We are not the plan from Microsoft is now not only getting the data from financial operations or any business application, but Microsoft is also working on getting the business events from different business applications right into the Dataverse. What would be the place here? Let's say a process happens into financial operations. This process, for example, is post an invoice in financial operations. The moment this posting happens, I want something to happen into Dataverse. That something is I'm referring to an event. How can financial operations send an event to Dataverse? The same time, something happened into Business Central. A purchase order got cancelled into Business Central. I want to send a notification or an event to Dataverse. You see, in this example, we are sending multiple events, I would say, to Dataverse. So my Dataverse is the receiver now. This, this, I want to create a one platform which can actually receive all the events from different business applications. So this is the concept which we have in finance and operations called business events. So that the future is not only the data will be residing into the Dataverse from business application, but Dataverse will provide you custom APIs. You can write your own Dataverse APIs to consume any event from any business application. And though based on to those events, you can trigger multiple processes which are required for your business there. So platform convergence doesn't mean that we are bringing the data in one place. We are talking about user experience and user interfaces. So everything, any user, at the end of the day, we want as a Microsoft, we want user will have a one interface to use, not switching between the browser, not switching between the different applications. It's a one user interface where user will log in and will perform all their business processes. So if you are in finance and operations, you can embed your Power Apps right into the finance and operations UI through personalization. These are the things which I'm going to present to you as a demo. There are also new features coming with embedding model-driven app in finance and operations, and you will be able to embed finance and operations pages into the UCI app outside finance and operations. So UCI control is a part of the Dataverse, so you can embed finance and operations pages directly into those applications. The result is that end user would not need to switch multiple application and browsers to find the data. So that was a context for the Power Platform convergence. I wouldn't say Power Platform, platform convergence here. So what is unified experience we are going to talk about? These are the different applications. Again, I'm referring here CDS. You can refer to the Dataverse here. And our poor finance and operations is actually sitting somewhere. I want to embed finance and operations into the Dataverse as one of the business applications so that at the result, what would happen, my end user will see this whole picture on the right hand side. And the this integration hexagonal thing is this is the integration layer between sitting between finance and operations and rest of the applications which are built on top of the Dataverse. So this integration currently can happen between data to data. Now Microsoft is heading towards events, which we talked about. So how we can achieve this unification? So there are few tools which we are going to talk about. First is the data integrator. Data integrator has been around for a few years now. It's a one-way integration. It's an admin experience. Someone has to go to the Power Platform, go to the data, create projects, project templates. It's a powerful tool, no doubt. It's a good tool if you want to see a huge volume of data between finance and operations and data, what I would say. You can use data integrators. It's not real time, it's a schedule based. You can run this one at a certain time of the day. You can run multiple times, no limitations, but it's good for the huge volume. Next is the dual write. So dual write was released early last year in March 2020. Yep, yeah. The dual write is also another powerful feature. I want to set the correct expectations about the dual write is not the solution for all the problems. There are few issues still with the dual write which cannot be achieved. Whenever you get a new business scenario, new requirement, you need to investigate first what would be the best possible option for you to integrate between finance and operations and Dataverse. Don't go with the wordings, say dual write is the solution for every problem. No, it still requires some maturities in the platform, and Microsoft is spending a huge amount of effort to mature this platform. But nonetheless, this is a great tool. It works really well with, I would say, 80 to 90% of the integration. There are few limitations which we may touch upon as uh, if we get some time. Another great feature is virtual entities. So before going to the virtual entities, dual write is a bidirectional. You can sync data between finance and operations database and Dataverse. Virtual entities is remarkable feature. Virtual entities is not new in Dataverse or not new in Dynamics 365. It's been there almost 4 years now. It was first released in 2017. And what's the idea is you have the feature right into the your Dataverse or Power Platform or Microsoft Dynamics 365 or customer engagement, whatever the terminology you want to use there, is you have this feature available right into that application. You can get the data from multiple sources. One of the source is financial operations. So your data will reside into your source application, which is in our scenario financial operations. So your data, if you want to use the virtual entities, all the public data entities from financial operations, you can push data from financial operations right into the Dataverse, but this data will never reside into the Dataverse. It will always stay into the actual application in our scenario, which is financial operations. You can create, read, update, and delete. You can perform all operations on this using virtual entities on financial operations data. Another option is business events. A very powerful feature. It's it's an out-of-the-box feature within finance and operations. As I did explain with an example earlier, if you want to post an invoice, send an event outside of finance and operations. Most of the time, what we do in many implementations for the business event, I customer asks me, okay, I want to get a notification once my purchase order gets confirmed. So, like in the old days, we used to write a customization, putting the alerts in AX 2012 and financial operations. We said, okay, you want to get some alerts, we can customize the process for you. But now, business event, you can just expose the endpoint of a particular business event to a Power Automate, which is a flow. You can consume that endpoint right into your flow or a Power Automate, and then using the Power Automate, you can send an email to anyone with all the parameters, all the settings, which these things will be coming as a part of the data from financial operations to Dataverse to Power Automate. Now the last option is embedding of Power Apps. So this embedding of Power Apps, I'll show you in a minute about what does it mean. So I think that's enough for uh, theoretical knowledge. Now let's jump into some some demo. So I'm just logging into my environments here and refreshing. This is the finance and operations environment. And with this convergence, believe me, I have spent around 16 years completely on my 6AX world, finance and operations world. Now, in last 2.5 years or 3 years, due to this all platform convergence and reading the data, moving between the applications, I'm able to create all the Power Platforms. I'm able to create my own Canvas apps here, which I have created here. I'm able to create my model-driven app. I'm able to create Power Portals myself. So this is how the future looks like. Even you have a vast experience into one application, the things are quite easy, seamless. You can learn it. It just requires an extra time or dedication. You can learn it easily. Now coming back to here, what we see is a first option as a data integrator. What are the data integrators here? You come over here. This is your Power Platform. As I said, it's an admin set experience. You go to your admin center here. You go to your where is the data? So first we have to go to the Power Platform. You create your connections here. So it's an easy thing. You create your new connection. Say my finance and operations environment is this one. My uh, Dataverse or a customer engagement environment. I still say it's the customer engagement environment because Dataverse is just for me. Without going into more details, for me, it's a database. There are so many other options, but just for the discussion purpose, I'm saying this is for me, it's a data. So finance and operations connection here. I have my customer engagement connection here, and then you follow multiple processes. It's completely written on Microsoft Docs article, how to set up the data integrator, sorry. And then you should be able to create all the links between finance and operations and Dataverse. That is the first option. Second option is dual write. So dual write, if you go to the finance and operations, you go to the data management workspace here. So this is how finance and operations environment looks like. You have multiple workspaces. You have your different modules here. So I went to a workspace here and to data management workspace here. This is my data management workspace. And I've come to dual write here. So this is the experience which Microsoft is working on to automate this experience. So whenever you deploy an environment in finance and operations, so first I will spend a little bit time onto the dual write here. So you go and find out all my running jobs here. There are very few jobs which I kept it running. Otherwise, all my jobs are currently stopped here. So I have created a terms of payments here. So this is my terms of payment. This is one of the data entities from finance and operations, and it is reading into a table into the payment term. Another it's very important point which I just wanted to explain you using my Excel here. In finance and operations, in Dataverse, what does it mean between the integrations? In finance and operations, it's called data entity. It used to be called entity in Dataverse before, but now it's called table. So that there was a reason why Microsoft used this terminology. Table is actually a one object. Entity is actually a combination of multiple tables. So you can think of this is your SQL view. View is your data entity. So when you write an SQL view, so view is actually the combination of multiple tables. So it's a denormalized form, but it's a combination of the multiple tables which are all define appropriate relationship between the different tables. So at the end of the day, you get a one data entity. So this is the data entity you can see here, terms of payment. So terms of payment is the one data entity. but underlying data sources, these may be the combination of multiple tables coming from finance and operations. The finance and operations have around thousands of tables inside. It's very hard or close to impossible to get complete finance and operations data into the Dataverse. People ask me a couple of times, what's the plan from Microsoft to get all the financial operations database, SQL database, which is SQL database, right into the Dataverse? Then the whole this integrations and whole this seamless integrations, these will be finished, and we will be able to write right into the Dataverse. That is the plan for Microsoft, but it's really hard to achieve. That's because of the database of finance and operations is huge. There are lots of tables, lot of tables. But coming back to the point here, FNO, we have a data entity here, and we can define a mappings between two different fields here. But when it run here, the terms of payment, we can go back to the finance and operations, and I would say let's go terms of payment. So this job is already running. So you can always go back here, go to your job, terms of payment is already running. And I already have synced the data from finance operations to the Dataverse. So you can go back to your Power Platform. You can go to the Dataverse, go to the tables, switch to all, and from here, if you want to see what is the table name, copy this table name here, search for table name here. This is your payment terms, and this is your data. And this data, by the way, it's coming from finance and operations. So I'll switch to all columns, and this is all my data fitting into here. This is the data coming from different legal entities here. So legal entity is a different concept in finance and operations. Uh, every data resides within a one legal entity or a specific to one company in finance and operations. There are concepts where we share data between different legal entities or companies. Legal entity or a company is the same thing for a speaking purpose. From the functionality point of view, we can differ it, but for understanding purpose for everyone here, we can say a company. So the company is in financial operations, we have multiple companies here. We call it as legal entities in financial operations. So this is a different legal entity here. This is a different. Now I'm just into USMF. I will go back here and I will just check where is my USMF. This is my USMF, and this is sitting over here. Net one. I'll go back here. Net one, and I will edit something here, and I will say make it 12 months, and I'm saving it. The moment it's saving, see, this is my trial environment. It may not be that fast, but when you go to the actual sandbox environment from Microsoft, it will be fast. Now I have updated the months here. If we go back here, and this is I'll just have to refresh data in USMF, where are you? Let me just see. And I still don't know how to filter this data here, but anyway. Here you go. So this is the record we have selected. And this is the 12. As so it is updating the data live. So that's it's called a dual write. So you get the data from finance and operations, You can go back here, you can edit this record, and let me see what data I have, which I can show you. These are the days here. And if we go back here, they make it 5 days and 7 those. Ah, this is user is where it is set up correctly. So I just have to check my user access from here. So I can show you what this error means here. Now coming back to the financial operations, your data, if you refresh here, it will not be updated. Now, how these two applications are integrating each other? There should be some way, some mechanism, or some processes sitting in between. So we have an application integration keys here somewhere into the system administration. If we go to modules, you go to the system administration, you go to Azure Active Directory application, you can pin it, you can go to this one, and you have to define application IDs. And this is already I have blogged about on my blog. I'm happy to share my blog link at the end of the presentation into a chat window. You can read through how you can set up the dual write, how you can set up the virtual entities, how you can set up the data integrator step by step. So as part of this demonstration, I'm skipping all the processes here, but that's the way you have to define all the application keys here. And these applications are coming right from the Microsoft. So you just need to enter into the Azure Active Directory here within the financial operations and it's defined. So that was one of the examples here. That is, this is dual write. Now, if we go back to the dual write, there are in-depth talks which I have given on dual write. There were so many talks which I have already given on dual write. So I would suggest if you want to learn more about the dual write, you can touch base with me offline. You can watch all my YouTube videos about dual write. So this is one of the integration tool to make it a unification, UI unification. Now, what's gonna happen? I have my finance operations data into my Power App, Power Platform here. This is the Power Finance Operations data, by the way, payment term. If you have the data, you can go back to your apps. You can create your Power Apps on top of this data, right? And similarly, what I have done as part of this presentation and demonstration here, I have created a one app here called Finance and Operations. So what how it looks like? Let me open the app. It's a very simple app. Don't worry about all the graphics here. I know it's looking bad compared to all the good looking apps out there, but the idea is I'm actually getting this data using the virtual entities from financial operations. Now, how you can set up your virtual entities? It's pretty straightforward. Again, all the steps are on Microsoft Docs article and also on my blog. Step by step approach I have explained on my blog how you can set up the virtual entities. But in a nutshell, what happens here, if you go to any of the environments, go to your advanced settings, and this is a classic way which I still love to use. There is an administration, it's a virtual entity data sources, and this is the financial operations here. What you have to do, you go to your Power Apps here. I'm just doing a little bit faster here, just consider the time. Go back to your where is the admin center. Go to your resources, Dynamics 365 apps, and search for virtual, and you just have to install this solution. Install this solution, choose your environment here, whatever the environment you want to choose. I have already installed this solution here. Once you have installed this solution, you will see where it is gone. You will start seeing this solution. Here, click onto this one. You find the target URL, which is the URL of your finance and operations environment. This is the URL which I have defined here. This is the URL. And then application ID. You just have to create a one application ID into your subscription here and go back to your Azure Active Directory, application registration. That's my application ID. I have just copied the application ID from here to here and the secret key definitely, and that's it. This solution has a suffix of MSERP. So it actually gives you all the tables under this solution are coming from financial operations. ERP is financial operations. So once this is done, and that's it, you just go back to your data here, tables, search for available financial operations entities. It will give you the list of all the data entities from financial operations which are marked as public. So there are data entities which we do not expose externally just because of the business processes, but only those data entities which we have exposed externally marked as public. You can see the list of data entities here. You can see all the columns from here. So this is still a manual step. I don't know what's the Microsoft plan on that one to make the next step, which I'm going to show you, to make that one an automated step. So what you have to do once the data pops, when the data loads here, you just have to double click and make it visible so that it will start showing you and one of the available virtual entity in finance from finance and operations in Dataverse here. Once you have this data entity available here, I'm just going to refresh. Don't worry about this one. And then you can create your Power App on top of this data. So this data is coming directly from finance and operations. This data is not into Dataverse because this is I have created this app here using a virtual entity. So if you click on edit on this one, I'll quickly show you. While this is happening, yep, so vendor data. So this is my data source here, and I'm just directly connecting using the vendor's MSERP. So MSERP, as you saw earlier, the solution which we installed is always have the MSERP. So that's a suffix. It will be against all the virtual tables coming from the financial operation. So coming back to this stuff here, sorry, I'm just again shuffling between the different applications just to trying to explain the concept of the virtual entities. So this is visible is equal to yes. You can double click anything marked is visible yes, and then you can use any of the data entities from finance operations creating your power apps here. You can create your portal onto virtual entities with no limitation. And once you have this data over here into Power Apps, you can create, record, delete, update using virtual entities. Similarly, you have other options, which is a dual write. You can get the data using dual write from finance and operations into Dataverse. You can create your Power App on top of that one. Now, you have created your app here. Now, what I can do here, I can click, go to details. This is my application ID of this particular app. I can go back to finance and operations. I want to embed this app on any form. Let's say you click onto this little icon, quite similar to the Power Apps icon here. Add app here, and I will say Power Community Vendor. Put the application ID here. You can define, I want to make it wider, insert. See, this is my, just click again over here, and this will come in. Whatever the data, it's a little bit smaller here. I can zoom in. what's happening, my financial operations data going into the Dataverse, and I can create, customize all the UI in that app easily, and then embed that app right into the financial operations. Why? What is the business scenario that this would be? Sometimes people ask us, okay, I have my vendors list here. Let's say if you go back to the accounts payable, this is my vendors list, and is I want to add multiple columns here. I want to have some columns coming from that form. I want to have my different view here. But sometimes it's required a customization in finance operations. It's better to get this data out into the into Dataverse, create a Power App, go back here and add that particular app here. So this way, user can always go to that app and he or she will be able to see the data as per their own requirements. This is my data here, looks like here. Now, another thing which you can do here, you can add a portal directly into the financial operations. So let me just go back here. This is my portal management. This is the one of the model-driven app which I have added here. Let me show you the model-driven app which I have added here. This is my model-driven app sitting into the on top of Dataverse and customer engagement environment. I just copied the whole URL. I went to my financial operations. I created. I say I want to personalize this one. Add a page, my website, and I would say this is my CE asset management, whatever the name, URL, save, and see here. Now I'm actually working into the Dynamics 365 application. I can browse anything here. I can perform all my tasks here. This is the UI unification. So you see, you can actually embed customer engagement or model-driven app right into the financial operations here. But similarly, you can within the same application, you can go back to the financial operations and at any time with no issue. You can go back to the financial operation. You can switch between the applications. But if you want to go back to your again customer engagement model driven app, you can always go back to here wherever you have added. Go back, click onto the C asset, and you are able to see the data from here. So that was a quick overview about financial operations, how you are actually embedding the data between different applications. I quickly wanted to show you something else here is, let me just log into my another environment. So this is my another environment where I have created a portal with the name of community. So that's the portal I have created, and this portal is actually using virtual entities. So I have created one custom page, and I'm actually retrieving my fixed assets from financial operations right into portal here. You can click onto the port here. You can view data. You can, if it comes up quickly, then you can update the data. If you want to say, you can create new record from here. It's taking a little bit time right now because I didn't open it for a long time. So now if it comes up, then you can create new fixed assets from portal using virtual entities in financial operations. So that was pretty much it from my side. I'll go back to my presentation here and we'll see what else we have. That's about the data and the events, which we have already talked about. And this is the demonstration which I have given to you. And the summary is it's a near real-time business process integrations across system and organization. Uh, this integration, it actually increases the user productivity. They don't need to worry about the complex integration. So it's all good in there. It's a decoupled integrations there. You can use a wider Azure and Power Platform ecosystem as we talked about earlier. So, as I said, I'm also the ambassador of our community, and also I am the leader and the founder of the Pakistan user group. With having said this one, we are organizing a free training for everyone to join us starting from this Saturday, where we are going to kick off customer engagement track from zero from very beginning level, where we are going to tell you what is business application, what is dynamic system ecosystem, or if you want to join us, scan the barcode, or I'm happy to put a link into a chat window. Uh, if you can, and thank you everyone, and thank you Microsoft for providing us the whole big platform, and thank you Power Community, especially also providing me another opportunity to speak here. And if you want to join, connect with me. Here's my LinkedIn QR code.
Thank you very
So
much, Faisal. So I guess the first question is, when would you use Dual-Write versus when you would use Data Integrator? I think that's the first question.
with a huge volume, data integrator. And if you want the real-time integration, it's better to use dual write. Uh, if you have a huge volume of data which you can schedule overnight, maybe a fortnightly or a weekly or maybe multiple times in a day, I would go with the data integrator. But there is a lot of admin stuff involved. You have to set up your connections projects yourself. So that's the drawback for me, because nowadays we are actually used of things getting happen on clicks. So you have to set up this one. So that's the one
Awesome. Thank you. Yep, excellent. Okay, so the next question is by VS, who's asking, can we map one entity from F&O to multiple tables in Dataverse
Yes,
in a dual write mapping?
yes, you can.
Sagar is asking, how can we establish connection between Dataverse and F&O? Maybe he didn't see the screen that he showed with the connectors, but do you want to elaborate on that again?
Oh yeah. You can. Let me show you. These are the different tools which you can use to integrate between finance and operations and Dataverse. You can use uh, a data integrator, tool right, virtual entities, business events. You can use any of them.
So Kobayashi is asking, in this demo you provided, all the company data will integrate into Dataverse. How can we filter on Dataverse when we only want to show a limited company?
In the setup here, once you link the environment under the environment details in the legal entities, this is a list of all the legal entities which we have integrated. Now, if you just want to see new legal entities data, whenever you are establishing the connection between the finance operations and Dataverse, choose only the required legal entities. So you can even delete after you have established the connection, you can delete it. And this way
Um,
you will have the limited legal entities.
and just to add to that, I know from experience that the data integrated uses Power Query to build out your queries. Um, the dual write, I don't know if that works in the same way, Faisal, for
Yes.
building out your queries.
Yep. So this is where you go back to your running state environments here. You have those filters here. If you click onto any of, you can filter on this one. Uh, this is again, as you mentioned, this is a Power Query. This query is actually from finance and operations side. This query syntax is different. This is a X plus query syntax. But if you want to put a query from Dataverse or a CE side, this is the query which we use here. I know there is an advanced option into Dataverse where you can use the Power Query. That advanced option is not available into Dual
Excellent. Okay, there is a question. A guest is asking, would it be possible to service data from on-premise SQL to Dataverse as a virtual entity?
That's not possible for now. Uh, this being asked previously, but as per my information, that's not possible.
Yeah.
I can certainly check. There could be a
Yeah, yeah.
data
I think what you mean by that, Faisal, is that it's not possible out of the box.
out of the box.
Uh,
No, no.
yeah, so
Yes,
out of the
definitely.
box, it's not possible, but it is technically possible if you set
Yes,
up the data gateway.
data gateway.
Um,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So technically it is possible, but it's not a click as because what I like about your demo, Faisal, is you've made it look so easy to set up virtual entities, right? And that's what I love about your demo. You made it look so easy, and it is. It can be easy for certain data objects, like a standard SQL Online DB, for example. There's connectors for that. But for an on-premise database, you need to enable. There's a lot of work you need to do to make it available, the data online. But in short, yeah, I think Faisal's approach is the correct one. So, okay, the final question, guys. Parag is asking, can we use change tracking in virtual entities?
Our change tracking is a part onto the actual data entities from a financial operation, whereas you are reading the complete set of data from Dataverse as one of the source of financial operations. So it will always give you the full set of data.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, there you go, guys. So I want to thank you once again, Faisal, for this very, very important session that brings together the Dataverse with the rest of the Dynamics ecosystem, and the options that are there. So I want to thank you for that great session. I look forward to seeing you soon. I know that there's many other training events that will be happening in the forthcoming weeks as well. So we'll keep the community posted on that as well. So
Okay.
once again, thank you very much, Faisal, for that fantastic session all the way from Australia. Round of applause to Faisal.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to stay in for the whole event, Ras.